Marcus has been limited in his practices due to a situation, and so I would have to say the word incomplete comes to mind. I know watching tape and just a little bit that I had him in the spring, really liked what he did. I do know that if we could get him on a cycle and get him consistently out there, he would help us defensively.
And he this year has had to balance being a father with playing football and being a student athlete. What does that say about him and his character?
Well, if you've ever met him, you can tell that he's a fine young man. He's got a lot of integrity about him and what he does and how he does it. He came here from Ohio, had a lot to prove, and I think I say this again. I think he handles things well. If we can, I'm very hopeful that we can get him on a cycle here this week and next week, and really, have him, at full capacity where we can use him this season.
Just to a point where you don't know how much you can count on him, or are you just trying to keep him as fresh as you can so you can count on him?
Well, at this point, we're trying to find out, the balance of what he can do and where he's limited and where we can maximize, what he can give us. Whether it's 20 plays, 25 plays, he's multiple. He can play spur, he can play down safety. I think he can play will linebacker. So, he's one of the few guys on this defense in the back end that has experience, and experience is hard to buy.
So if we look at the secondary, the depth you had in the spring is night and day compared to what you have right now, both bodies and talent. Is it probably no surprise in your eyes that two expected starters for next week are two newcomers to the survivor?
It doesn't surprise me. We went as soon as I got here. We went to work on that, and the thing that I told them today. I've been very, I've grinded them very hard, and I said, I have to treat you guys like kindergartners. You leave the room, I got to watch you. You're just everything they do. They're talented, and I'm not denying that. But there's an experience factor. New things come up, and we're doing things offensively. Our work against our offense has been phenomenal because today Joey says, "Hey, coach, what about when the back comes outside and then he comes back in the box? Do I go back to one?" Well, to me that's elementary, but it's not to him. And it was a new thing, and every day there's a new horizon for him. And so my answer to that is, hey, let's be sound, let's be simple, and try to give them a chance to succeed with their ability.
The junior college guys, they're kind of interesting stories. All of the DBs probably ended up here. Keenan was at Montana State, went to junior college, and Joey Bryant.
Yeah.
What do you take out of that story of sort of cumulatively
Well,
having these junior college
like Joey's story. I mean, I told him this could be a potential book. I mean, you look at he grew up, mother died, grandparents took him in Hawaii. They have nothing. He wants to get an education, and so he calls every junior college in California. His father, has moved to California, and everything he's done, he's worked for. I mean, there was no recruiting for Joey. There wasn't any recruiting trips. I mean, he's the only guy on our defense that didn't take a recruiting trip. And one of the things that I can remember when he was at Mount Sac was that he got behind. When you're paying your own way, you can't take enough hours. And coaches come in, they say, "Boy, I like him." I know me, I was guilty. I was at Baylor. I said, "Boy, I like him. I'd take him." But when he said, "I'm going to graduate in the summer," next, you say, I don't have time, unless you're desperate. And so when I got here, we happened, Jared Holly, who played for me at Pitt, told me about, he said, "We have a guy here." And he goes, "I think you know him." He says he remembers you. All those junior college guys, when you go to their school, I mean, they're like puppies. I mean, if you have I don't care if it's Alabama A&M. They will smother you. I mean, they come out of the woodwork. You're a scout, you're a coach, and Joey is a personable guy, and I think, like I said, I like the fact that he's very hungry for success. Nothing's been given to him, and then you can take DeMonte King. DeMonte King came out of high school and had some grade issues, close, and some of the bigger schools, the Boise's, I think a couple of Washington State, they were all looking at him, and then his grades, then Montana State comes in and say, hey, we'll take you. And, he goes there and he said, I'm a better player than this. Goes up there, redshirt, starts as a redshirt freshman, and if you watch his tape, a redshirt freshman, he's talented. And then he goes back, and they're stories, but like right now, both of them. Joey's a great student. DeMonte just made a 3-3 in his first summer session. I mean, these guys are serious. They got a little bit more seriousness about them than maybe some of these freshmen coming in that were wild and, taken to City Hall and Ocean Club to eat. These guys hadn't made that. They're Dairy Queen and Sonic people.
No offense to them.
Oh, no offense. I like them. I'm sort of like me. I get a Sonic every night.
What's the status of Jalen Bates? Do you expect him in the near future?
I have no idea.
Now, so on that note, I know you wanted to play Jojo Wicker inside. Would it be fair to say that A.J. Latu is playing well defensive end?
A.J. Latu playing lights out. He is, A.J. Latu is one of those guys that, you look at him and you say, oh, okay, he's had a little experience. Then you get him out there in scrimmage situations and stuff. You're like, wow, he makes plays. He's got football skill, and I like him. He's a tough kid. A lot of kids would have missed further along with their elbow than he did. And I look at our D line, and we're multiple. You got JoJo. They can play a 3. He could play nose and a 5. He could play devil. All right. You got 90 could play 3, 5, and nose. You got. I'm really impressed with right now with Renell Wren has really come back. He could play both insides. Shannon Foreman could play both insides. Stewart could play both insides. So, George, not George, Stewart, but George, and Diaz could play both insides. So, I feel good about that. Another thing about AJ is still, he's the starting end. He's also the backup devil. So we've got, we've got some options there.
Coach, among the freshmen who are currently playing in 2 deep, especially Frederick and Thomas, do you expect them to play in the opener?
I don't know yet. I would like them to on good terms, but on my terms, I'd like them to play. But they're a work in process. Both of them are now 97 will play, and we're working with 18 to get him better. Fredericks.
And how many D linemen do you plan on playing this season?
I would think, obviously with JoJo and AJ, Dud Suttle has gotten the mix. He's done a good job. There's Shannon, Foreman, Wren, of course, Crump at the Devil. I would see probably 5 or 6 that we could play and feel good about. Now, I'm the type of guy, when you have 2 guys like JoJo and Tayshawn, I'm going to play them. And I told them that. And when I was, people asked me, they said, and Todd and I talked about this. I had a kid that was a great player, All-American at Baylor, named Billings. We played 90, 95 snaps a game. He'd play them all. He was that good and that dedicated.